Cheech, your fly fish food. I'm going to show you a great fly. Not like the Higa's SOS. This is the Cheech's SUS. Keep it sus, people. Alright, so a lot of you guys don't know this, but I've known Spencer for maybe 20-something billion years. He actually gave me my first ever Renzetti vise. This isn't a made-up story. So Spence and I go way back. He's got an awesome fly called the Higa's SOS. It's been catching fish on multiple continents for multiple years. So it needed a dry fly cousin called the Cheech's SUS.
That's a big bro.
Okay, let's just get started on this one. I am starting out with my hook curved down like this. This is just the Czech nymph hook from Fulling Mill. It's actually a really good little dry fly hook because it's kind of thin wire. So I'm going to start it about right here, and I'm going to wrap back about to right there. It's just easier to tie in this tail on this curve this way. Alright, so the tail on the old SOS is just some sort of black something, whether it's pheasant tail or whatever, but I like hen. It's a little more durable, moves a little bit better in the water. So I'm just going to grab, you see this little piece of black, any type of feather you have will work for this. We're going to grab maybe, I don't know, about 10 or 12 fibers. Who's counting? Spencer is. It's got to be perfect. Alright, and that's going to be our little tail. Very sparse, or else it won't cut through the water very well. Alright, so we're going to tie that little thing on. It's just kind of a little taste of feather for the fish, you know what I'm saying? So we're just going to do touching turns, and that should just make that wrap all the way up the hook shank. If it doesn't do that, it means your turns weren't quite touching. Alright, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it kind of aggressively the other way, right? Sometimes with these curved shank hooks, you see how you have kind of a slope right behind the eye, right here. If that's angled too far forward, your thread has the potential to fall off of the hook, so you don't want that. Anyway, I'll just get rid of those haters, trim those off, and we will lock the rest down. Alright, we're just going to use some silver wire on this, and yes, we are using wire on a dry fly. We want this back half of this fly to protrude into the water. Alright, so I'm just tying this little piece of wire on my side of the hook. You can see how I'm kind of angling that toward myself so I can see a little better. Touching turns down so that we cover up the wire and we don't build up a ton of bulk. And as soon as we go back, don't do a bunch of extra turns, counterwrap your thread if you're using flat stuff, and go right back up. Okay, so this way the very back half of that fly is very, very thin, and I can build up a tiny bit of taper. We really don't need a lot of taper on this, but we'll do it anyway for the gram. There you go. When I say tiny, I mean tiny. But once we wrap wire over that, it'll look really cool. So we'll do that first. First couple wraps of wire are going to be kind of close together, and you're going to space those out as you go forward to make it look like an insect, something like that. Somebody told me that. So catch that off right here with 3 or 4 turns of thread. Now I'm going to take this thread and I'm going to lock down in front of that wire. Okay, so that's locked in there. And I'm just going to bend the wire. See how it's coming up this way? I'm going to bend it against itself on the other side of that knot, just like that. Give it a good crease, and then you shouldn't have to helicopter hardly at all, and it will break right off. And you can see there's no bulk on that at all. Okay, so cover that up, and now we're going to work on our thorax. But this one it's not the easiest. Okay, it's not, I mean, Spencer's a complex dude. And think about it, his is the SOS, this is the SUS. This is just suspect as it gets. So, flex floss, it doesn't really matter what color, but we're using red because this fly has a little bit of red highlight to it. And we're going to tie it in just like that. We're going to loop it around, just a loop big enough to put your big old greasy finger into, and wrap that back to where the other one comes out just like that. And I'm going to maybe wrap in front of this and then pull that tight. There we go. Now if I pull this a little bit tight and trim it, there's hardly any bulk there as well. So here we go. We're going to take a big old long saddle hackle. It's easier to do this with saddle hackle than it is with a cape. It's just because saddle hackles are long. All right, so I'm going to take, I'm tying a 16. This hackle's kind of between a 16 and 18. It doesn't matter as much because we're just making a big old puffball on top of this. So I'm going to tie it in. You can see there's a tiny bit of stem left right there. So I tied it in right there on purpose, okay? We'll get rid of that excess stem. Maybe wrap him down, and I'm going to let my thread hang right here, okay? If it's not wrapped right here, you're going to have to put it there at some point. You'll probably trap down fibers when you try to tie them up. So, note to self, take your thread there. All right, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to put my finger in it. See how that is on the screen? I'm going to stretch it up like this, and then I'm just going to use my thumb and middle finger while my forefinger does the heavy lifting, okay? Thumb and middle finger are helping that wrap around. See how tall I'm getting here? Now I'm going to let off the tension, and I'm going to pull that over forward. And you can see I'm a little short still, so I will make it a little bit longer. Boom, I think we're in. So now we're going to take and wrap back through itself. It's okay, we're going to trap down fibers. It's just kind of how hackle stackers are. And you can see they're going to float forever because they've got quite a bit of hackle in them. All right, at this point I'm going to take my fingers, preen them all back, and just kind of expose that, okay? I don't know what that's called, but we're exposing it so that we can tie it off. All right, so there you go. If you kind of grab everything with your fingers just right, you can have minimal tie down. It will take a few of these to get it right, but it's not a big deal. Okay, so we trim that off, and when I was creating this fly, this was the part that I wasn't sure about because Spence has a really cool little red wing case on the nymph, and the fish are able to see that. So to make a little red hot spot that the fish can see, I'm just taking whatever red dubbing you like. I think this is like some laser dub or something. We'll put it in the recipe. And we're just making a very, very, very thin dubbing noodle. You can see how thin that thing is. You know what? That one didn't turn out very good. I'm just going to redo it. Don't be afraid to pull stuff off the thread if it doesn't look up to your standards or up to your videographer's standards, because he'll come and say, hey, Cheech, that fly you did really sucked and we need to redo it. And then I flip out. All right, that's not going to happen here, though. Check this out. We redid the dubbing noodle. It's nice and sparse, nice and thin, and that's about all I want right there. So I'm going to take the rest of that off. I thought I had just barely enough, and it was way too much. Take the rest of that off, and we'll just wrap forward and get rid of any of these haters. Perfect. All right. So now we have our red hot spot that is going to be visible for the fish, but it's not going to be so much that they're going to say, whoa, buddy, chill out on the red. Kind of like that old Royal Coachman, you know, it's got the red band, and I think the fish really like it. For the next act, we're throwing in some Fulling Mill ultra dry dubbing, which has a really cool yarn chopped up into it that floats super well. So again, a very, very sparse dubbing loop of this stuff. It's designed to be a buggy dubbing, but it still dubs down pretty dang well. So I'm just going to build a little thorax. Let's see. Sometimes you just kind of have to dub it all around until the thorax forms. See how I did that? All right. Boom, we're in. All right, so ready to pull this hackle stacker over. Now, as you can imagine, it'd be a really pain in the butt to try to get all those hackle fibers out of there. So here's what we're going to do. we're just going to take a loose section of this, 3 turns of thread-ish. Now I'm going to take that and pull that through all the way forward. And I'm going to pull down with my thread and create a little bit of tension. Okay? So there you go. That's a very, very tight hackle stacker. And because it's on a flexible cord, when a fish eats it, they're not going to break it. Okay? So now check this out. I'm going to grab everything. The span flex, hackle, everything right here. And I'm just going to create a little bump. Looks like we got a couple hackle fibers that don't know the drill. And by wrapping back up this, I'm putting a lot of extra turns on this span flex, locking it in place. So let's get a quick whip finish on this. Whoa. Don't worry, we'll get rid of all those haters. I know, some people are going nuts right now. All right, get rid of our thread here, and now with this, you're going to just give it a slight pull and trim it right there. All right, so now we can come in here and we can style this guy however we want, but at the end of the day, it's just a puff ball of hackle that sits on top of this fly, keeping it nice and buoyant. And on the back side of the fly, it's got materials that will sink through the water. So there you go. For every Higa's SOS, there's a Cheech's SUS. Keep it sus, people.